there will be different types of pictures. Thank you. There'll be different types of pictures here, like this, and there will be arrows that are numbered pointing to different parts of this frog, and you're going to have to tell what parts they are. So this looks a lot like what you guys saw when you were doing your dissection. So hopefully you saw most of those things. So let's go through, and for each of these organs, I'll tell you sort of a little hint as to how to remember what it looks like. I already said some of this stuff. But so this thing is pointing, this first slide points to this organ. There are several sections to it, but all of these arrows are touching the same organ, sort of a brownish color, and it's one of the largest. Michael, what organ is that? That's the liver, yes. So the liver is really an easy one to identify. It's big, brown, has several parts to it. The function of the liver. The liver has multiple functions. Okay? It helps filter our blood, sort of remove poisons. It also makes bile. So those are two functions of the liver. Any questions about the liver? What it looks like or what it does? Okay, now this one's a little tougher. So here what you see in the picture is this probe is holding back a section of the liver. Here's the other parts of the liver. And this is pointing to this little circular organ that's hiding underneath the liver. Now the color is sometimes confusing. This one is dark. Most of the time, though, it's not. Most of the time it's yellow or greenish in color. You know what organ that is, Blake? That's the gallbladder. Okay? I often say it looks like a deflated pea, that you squish the insides out and just the shell's left. But that's the gallbladder. What does the gallbladder do? What is its function? Right?
Make bile.
Not quite. Just got to be careful in how we say this. Because we said the liver makes bile.
Oh, so
Yes, it stores bile. So the liver makes the bile, sends that bile into the gallbladder where it's stored. And so when the frog's alive, that gallbladder won't be deflated like that. It would be filled usually with bile. And when that bile is needed for digestion, the gallbladder sends it into the digestive system. So that's the gallbladder. Any questions about how to identify it or what it does? All right, so now, again, this one's a little tougher. You really have to look carefully at what it's pointing to. Now you'll notice in this frog, all of the digestive organs have been removed. So there's no stomach here, small intestine, large intestine. Okay? Now, it's pointing to this very, very thin tube that goes all the way over here. This thin tube is attached to these organs. You could see more of the same organ here. Maya, what is it?
sperm duct?
That's the sperm duct. Again, very narrow, very tiny, coming along down the sides of the frog. And as we said in our question of the day, its job is to bring sperm from the testes to the cloaca for it to leave the frog's body. All right. Now we're obviously looking in the frog's mouth. Okay. Now we're pointing these bumps up here. What are those bumps? Maggie?
Teeth?
They're teeth, and they have a special name. I'm not sure if you picked this up from there. They're called Vomerine teeth. You know, frogs don't have teeth like we think of a human or a mammal. They don't chew up their food. Frogs basically swallow their food whole. Those teeth are basically just for holding on to it, okay, while the frog swallows it. And they're angled sort of back towards the frog's esophagus, which is back here behind the tongue. Okay, so they allow the frog to sort of grasp onto its prey and keep it in its mouth while it's swallowing. But they don't chew it up. Now, I'm glad we have this picture, because this is an organ that you guys didn't really see. Abby, you know what it is? Yeah, those are the oviducts. Okay? They're very large, much larger than the sperm ducts. Okay? And that's because they have to hold many, many eggs, and the eggs are much larger than the sperm cells. These oviducts do not have any eggs in them right now. If they did, they'd be like very dark, but they don't. And they bring the eggs from the ovary out of the frog's body through the cloaca. Here we have to, again, look carefully. When I was coming around to many of you, I pointed out that this thin tube all of a sudden gets wider. Can you know what it is? Yeah, that's the large intestine here. This area right here, that's the large intestine. You see this tube, it's larger. Okay. That's large intestine. Its job. What does the large intestine do? Alan? Yeah, it absorbs water back into the bloodstream from foods that we're eating. This is another diagram when these digestive organs are gone, so we can see sort of the organs that are closer to the back of the frog, the dorsal side. And it's pointing here. They're not very distinct in this picture, but if it's towards the back of the frog, and it's sort of a reddish, brownish color, what organ is that? Connell?
Kidneys.
Those are the kidneys. These two things are the kidneys. What do kidneys do? Blake?
Don't they make the bile?
No, that's the liver.
They transfer. They like transfer bile to the bladder. That's
Not bile. You're getting closer though. Because what's the bladder filled with?
Oh, it transfers urine.
Yeah, and that urine is the waste products from the blood. So it cleans out the blood to form urine. That's what the kidneys do. Okay, just a little bit higher here, and I pointed out these tubes, so some of you saw these, some of you did not when you were doing your dissection, Michael. Those are the testes. They make sperm and testosterone. Now we're moving up a little higher in the frog. But again, we're towards the back. Nicholas, you know what those two things are? Those are the lungs. Okay, they kind of look like little blackberries or something. Remember the texture when I showed them to you? They're like very spongy. They're on either side and they're towards the back of the frog. They're much easier to see if you remove the organs. And again, lungs allow the frog to take in oxygen to get rid of carbon dioxide. You have a question on it, or you want to do it?
I have a question.
Okay.
So like about our lab, do we...
Well, we'll get to the lab after. Let's just focus on this for now. Michael? Yeah, this is the stomach here. So along the left side of the frog, sort of underneath the liver on this side, it's sort of shaped like kind of a banana. That's the stomach. What's the main function of the stomach? Daniel? To digest food. Break it down with hydrochloric acid and enzymes. Okay, a little different view. So we're pointing to this arrow here. James, what is that?
Fat bodies?
No. It's pointing to this.
Oh.
Were you looking at this?
Yeah.
Then you would be correct. It's looking at this tube here. We're pointing to this.
Just that looks similar to fat bodies.
Yeah. Guy? Yeah, that's a small intestine. Narrow tube, but pretty long. Lines around in there. That's a small intestine. What happens in the small intestine? What is its function? Okay?
It absorbs nutrients.
Yeah, that's where nutrients are absorbed. It's also where food is continued to be digested. Okay, so now we're holding up the stomach here, and we're looking sort of inside, down in the middle area, small red sort of ball-shaped organ. Amanda? It's a spleen, right? It's a spleen. Spleen helps to sort of recycle blood cells that are no longer needed. Okay? It's another view of the spleen. Then you see it's this red ball here underneath the stomach, in the middle of the frog. How about this? Easy one, right? So some of your frogs had many, some had only a few. James?
Fat body.
Those are the fat bodies, correct. What do they do? What's their purpose? Abby?
They hold the nutrients so when they hibernate,
Yeah, they store energy for hibernation. Ken? That's a heart. Yep, that's a heart. Obviously pumps blood. You could even see, and this is a good picture, it shows the chambers, the two atrium on top and the ventricle on the bottom. Fallon?
The eardrum?
Yeah, the eardrum, also called the tympanum, allows the frog to hear. Just behind the eye. Right?
On a test, if we say eardrum, will we get a mark? Or we have to do
You should say tympanum, that's the proper. What's this pointing to? Daniel?
the tongue.
The tongue. Attached to the front, remember. Just kind of folds out and folds right back in, kind of spring-loaded for the front.